What's going on, guys, and welcome on in. Today let's start a new video series talking about units that we all think either are most likely or kind of we want to be buffed the most. Today we're going to focus on the Moonlight 5s. We'll go over limiteds, we'll go over other 5-star red, green, blues. We'll talk about 4 stars in the future, but today I want to talk specifically about Moonlight 5s. Now, quick disclaimer. Any units we talk about today, it doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they necessarily even need buffs. But Smilegate has shown, right, with the last big balance patch that they like to do, they're kind of on a higher momentum balance patch phase. Landy, Cerise, Sage Ball, Little Queen Charlotte, some of those which maybe other units could have used buffs more in my opinion. But regardless, they had some crazy changes, which overall I think is kind of exciting for the game. So let's talk about the 3 units with 2 honorable mentions, 3 ML5s that I think and my stream community thinks need buffs the most, okay? My YouTube guys, I want to hear your thoughts, so please in the comments section below, let me know any additional thoughts, any agreements, disagreements on Moonlight 5. Smilegate does listen and I submit this feedback on the regular to them. So please, they have been doing a lot of balance patches. Let me know. Maybe we'll see some of these come to fruition, okay? Top ML units that I think need buffs the most, all right? From a community voted standpoint. Number 3 on the list, guys, meaning she's top 3, but compared to the other 2, she needs buffs the least. Has to be, I don't own her, Briarwitch Iceria. Guys, Briarwitch I think was one of the most hyped when she was revealed. She looks great. I think her backstory is amazing. A ton of people wanted to pull for her, me included. We wanted to save her from her dark backstory, and her kit on release looked really, really nice. And I still think it's good overall, but let's talk about the issues with her kit. Number 1, I think, is just, it's kind of difficult to gear her. And for a lot of the player base that pulled for her without really, you know, fully thinking on where she would fit into their draft or kit playstyle, etc. I think she is a lot more difficult to gear than some other units, which isn't necessarily a bad thing or something that needs to be addressed. But I do think that's why a lot of players want to see some changes for her. She is very difficult to run. The most common builds are high speed, effectiveness, or like pure cleave. Anywhere from 220 plus speed, high damage, or you go more effectiveness route, which kind of is on the decline. But beyond that, even my top level players that I've talked to that have the gear to run her, the RNG factor on the S3 is the main issue I think with her kit. It's what I believe 85% chance at max, which leaves a lot of RNG. So even when you have, you have the geared out speed and you have everything set up, there's a chance it just doesn't really land, because that's a 15% chance, 85 just to land, and then you're not even looking at the 15% base ER, the 15% meme on top of that. So I do think maybe the major fix could be changing this to 100%, 90, 95. Not sure how much she really needs, or maybe buffing some of the S1 or S2 to make, you could either aim that towards the new to mid game players that are having difficulty, having a lot of success with her. Overall though, I think Briarwitch Iceria deserves to be number 3 because of the RNG factor, because she's hard to gear and hard to use effectively. A lot of players kind of don't feel great about using her, or just kind of have her on the bench, even though they would love to use her because she looks amazing. So I think Briarwitch Iceria definitely deserves to be number 3. Let me know what you think. After Briarwitch, guys, number 2 on the list is, I just pulled it recently and I'm very excited, Maid Chloe. Maid Chloe pre-RTA, after her round of buffs that she received, was regarded as a must-have, must-pull. Her kit was amazing. She's the offensive reviver. There's, one of the very few revivers, the main 3. Her Ruel, Shooting Star Katie, she's the most offensive. She has the team-wide revive, but guys, I think a lot of y'all know why she kind of is placed as number 2, why she's kind of struggling at the moment. It's because Smilegate inadvertently, indirectly nerfed her over and over when targeting nerfs, let's say aimed at Arbiter Vildred, for example. A lot of anti-revive, anti-extinction stuff really, really hurt her overall goal, her playstyle. And I do think she could use a little bit of love to kind of bring her back into the spotlight, because it sucks that, she was never that much of a problem. It feels bad that nerfs aimed at other heroes really hurt her the most, honestly. She still is great. She still has an offensive kit that's super good for things like Abyss, Guild Wars, and Arena offense, like I said. And I think even in RTA as a last pick, when your opponent doesn't have anti-revive, anti-extinction, and like a lot of strips, she can be amazing there. So maybe just some slight changes, like make the S3 a little bit more effective, more health on revive, maybe a little bit of CR, maybe buff the stun chance here, increase the healing down on her S2. I don't know if a complete rework would be the option, but if they do keep on, you know, adding more anti-revive and extinction stuff, that may be the play. Okay, once again guys, my YouTube viewers, let me know what you think about what she could use, but she definitely does, I think, need some love after all the indirect nerfs that she received. After Maid Chloe, number 1 on the list. Can y'all guess it? I think a lot of you guys in chat will know who it is immediately. Number 1 on the list, I think, has to be DJ Bazaar. Not saying he's bad. Remember, none of these units are bad per se, so if you have them, don't feel bad. You could disagree, and you know, I know some of y'all have DJ Bazaars, Braceras, Maid Chloes that are doing really well for you, that are popping off, they're carrying you. That's great. But I do think compared to a lot of the other Moonlight 5s, these 3 need it the most, need buffs the most. Both probably in terms of just play rate and just, you know, their kits overall. What's the issues with DJ Bazaar? Well, I do think his S3 is extremely unique, and if he got any sort of love to his stat line, that's where I think he needs help the most, is his stats. It would be the premier anti-ER, anti-control, just cleanse and buff your team, because the CR push is huge on top of 3-turn immunity and full dispel for debuffs. I think that's insane. The problem is for a lot of new players, when they say, Car, I just pulled DJ Bazaar, how do I build him and should I build him? Well, unfortunately, guys, until your gear is absolutely insane, it's a lot of times better to just build, let's say, an Angelic Montmorency, for example. If you need anti-debuff units, Momo has so much built-in ER. Remember, when you're fighting control teams or just debuff teams in general, you really need like 200, 250 plus. Once you start getting higher up in the rankings, you really need very, very high ER to make sure there's no RNG involved and you cover your opponent's effectiveness by hopefully 100%, because that means you will never get debuffed. DJ Bazaar, it's very hard to hit that super high ER threshold because he has, I think, very little to no effect resist built into his awakenings. On top of that, when you do force a ton of ER, because I have seen him, you know, I have seen him at the highest levels of play, especially with the stun chance here. I've seen like counter builds, go the distance, and he can be used. But I just think with how much little ER he has built in, when you try to get him fast enough so that he can push and, you know, try to cut in line, as well as making him tanky enough so he doesn't just die, it's a very, very, very hard stat line to pull off. And most of the players just can't do it. And you have 3 stars and 5-star red, green, blues that are just better alternatives overall until you hit the insane gear. So I think maybe just adding some more ER, maybe even changing. I don't think I want the imprint to be ER because that's sort of pay to win. Maybe just change his sign to be more effect resist inclusive, or have some built into the S2. Maybe give the S1 a little bit more stun chance or more healing on the S2. Something like that, but I think his S3 is in a perfect spot. Don't change this. This is what makes him amazing. I think overall, even though he's number 1 most needed, I do think he kind of just needs a little bit of love to really make him see a lot of play, regardless of whether or not control is kind of on the downhill with the new frenzy changes and things like that. Okay, guys, let's now talk about the 2 honorable mentions. I know there's one unit on this list that a lot of people are kind of like, Car, I was expecting to see this guy right here, but you didn't talk about him. Well, let me tell you why. I think Specimen Says has one of the most exciting and just fun kits to use. I wish I had him so I could just destroy an arena in Guild War offense. You know, you do the lots, A-lots combo, or just have a Silver Blade Arm with any stun setup. He's popping off. He's one-shotting everything with extinction. I think after his buffs, he was a lot better. However, overall, he still doesn't see a lot of play, especially in real-time arena, because he does take a lot of setup. He doesn't have like the survivability or other things that the DPS units have kind of built in that lets them go the distance. But the reason we're not putting him on a top 3 or top 4, and he's only an auto mention, is because my Specimen Says players that I've talked to in depth, and guys, my YouTubers, please tell me what you think about this. They said if any buffs that Spez would receive would put him over the top. And this is coming from players that love him, and you know, they're looking for the overall health of the game, and not just, hey, I like this unit, so buff him, make him OP. They think that if any buffs were given to him, he could potentially be way too strong. Let me know what you think could be added to his kit so that he sees a little bit more play, especially in RTA, that doesn't make him over the top broken. Because I would like to see him played more often. I know a lot of players have him, and you know, you want to use him more than just a YouTube highlight video where he combos and pops off and when all the stars align, right? And guys, besides Specimen Says, the other unit on the list is another controversial one. We have ML5, one of my favorite heroes. I had to pull him when he came into Mystic Rotations. From day one, he's been one of the kings, regarded as one of probably the best overall unit just in the game for a very long time. But lately, in the past long while now, he's kind of fallen off and is now more of a niche counter pick unit. Don't get me wrong, we've all had horror stories or your own stories of where he's 1v4ing, destroying everybody. But there's a lot of units that kind of counter his kit nowadays. A lot of players have more ways to one-shot him. He still is extremely greedy on gear, so it's like, why dedicate a ton of gear for just a sort of niche unit? I do think, you know, he could use some love. The problem is, and why he's only honorable mention, is because if he's given too many buffs, he becomes oppressive again like he used to be, which I don't know is good overall. I would like to see him get something, I just don't know what that would be, which is why he stays on the honorable mention list. I can't say that word. That's ML5, guys. Could be too strong given any buffs, but he is sort of a very stat hungry unit that needs insane gear and is kind of last picked or is handled with ease nowadays. Anyways, guys, we'll get to the rest of the stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.